evening. The time is now 6 p.m. I'm going to call to order the June 11th, 2024 meeting of the Warwick School Committee. If everybody, no. Excuse me. If everybody would please stand at this time for the Pledge of Allegiance. On behalf of Ms. Ruggieri this evening, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Taylor for Employee Spotlight for the month of May.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. Before I start with the employee spotlights, just like to take a quick second and spotlight the person behind the employee spotlights. She's not here tonight, but gave me the microphone, so I couldn't resist. But really, Ms. Ruggieri started this about 2.5 years ago. About 25 months of recognizing employees. We're almost to about 200 recognized employees. And every month as she does this, she would never, say that about herself. But I do want to recognize Ms. Ruggieri tonight when I can because of the great work that she's done putting this program together. But tonight we have 8 May employee spotlights that I have the privilege on behalf of Ms. Ruggieri to share with everybody. For clerical, from VETS we have Joanne Savage. From the support staff from VETS we have Amy Sattel. Our special educator from Windman, Jen Lindell. Our administrator, our own director of finance, Brendan Bold. Our teacher assistant from Holloman, Stacy Madden. Our teacher from Oakland Beach, Carol Walsh. Custodial maintenance from maintenance, Charlie Nichols. And our middle management coordinator from our federal grants and DEI, our own Paul Heatherton.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor, and thank you to Ms. Ruggieri for putting on this program. I would imagine that Mr. Bowl was recognized for his work on the most recent budget, but I'm going to like to think that it's because of his new facial hair look there with the mustache. So congratulations to all those spotlighted this month. At this time, I'm looking for a motion to go into closed session for discussion and or action regarding those items of business exempt from open meetings under general laws of Rhode Island, RIGL 42-46-5, A1, A2, A4, A8, A9.
So moved.
Ms. Backus made the motion.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Testa. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are now in closed session. Time is now 7:04. Going to call the Tuesday, June 11th, 2024 School Committee meeting to order. Returning to open session. Looking for a motion to seal the minutes of executive session.
So moved.
Made by Ms. Backus. Seconded by Mr. Testa. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. There were no votes taken in executive session. This time we'll have public comment on agenda items. Individual comments will be respectfully limited to 3 minutes per person, with public comment not to exceed 45 minutes. Though the content of comments will not be restricted, it is the hope of this committee that citizens, committee members, and the administration alike will be respectful of each other's right to speak, tolerant of different points of view, and mindful of everyone's time. This public comment period, again, is for agenda items only. A second public comment session is available later in the meeting for all other topics or concerns. Members of the public are permitted to speak during both public comment periods. Speakers are asked to state their name for the record.
Hello, my name's Darlene Netco, homeowner, taxpayer, voter, lifelong resident of Warwick, graduate of Warwick Public Schools, teacher, president of the Warwick Teachers Union. First, I want to congratulate Melissa O'Neill as being named the Rhode Island Teacher of the Year. She was Warwick Teacher of the Year, now she's Rhode Island Teacher of the Year, so she brings great recognition to not only herself, but also to the rest of the teachers here in Warwick and to the Warwick Public Schools. And I think that her selection is a testament to the great teachers that we have here in Warwick and the great school system that we have. Despite my frequent criticisms of it, often, and I should say always warranted when I criticize it, I mean, we do have an outstanding school system. Another item on the agenda is the technology. You've got before you a whole bunch of technology pieces to approve. I do want to note to you that I had filed a grievance about technology in the high school and the middle school levels. This was a couple of years ago. It's been in abeyance because I've been giving the administration an opportunity to fix the problem. I believe the problem at the high school has been fixed, but there still might be an issue at the middle school. And that issue is the teachers that had previously had the actual desktop computers to run actual like Microsoft programs and other programs lost those desktops and instead have to use Chromebooks and other like wireless means, something called the thin client server. I am not an expert, so I am just repeating what others have told me. And this process has prevented the teachers from being able to deliver the curriculum in the way that they had previously done so and would like to do so again. They need the proper programs, and they have to stop trying to use free stuff from the internet, because frequently you can use the free stuff for a little bit of time and then they want you to pay for it anyway. So I'm not sure exactly where the district is in the process of rectifying.
30 seconds.
All right, of rectifying this problem, but I figured since this was on the agenda and you're approving an awful lot of stuff, I just hope what you are approving is going to give our middle school and high school teachers, if they still need it, all the proper hardware and software that they need to deliver their technology curricula. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Necco.
Good evening. I am Julie Connors Costello, coming to you as a teacher looking for safety at Windman. I'm speaking tonight to letter J, adoption of policies first read, JFC, student conduct, and JFCN, prohibition against bullying, cyberbullying, harassment, intimidation, and hazing. The wording I'm speaking to specifically under JFC. It says the Warwick School Committee is committed to providing safe and effective learning environments where all students experience success. And also the phrase, Students are expected to comply with the district's written rules and/or policies, submit to the authority of district staff as granted by law, and conduct themselves in an orderly manner at school during the school day and during school-sponsored activities. Specifically under JFCN, bullying means the use by one or more students of a written, verbal, or electronic expression of a physical act or gesture, or any combination thereof directed at a student that A, causes physical or emotional harm to the student. Then the investigation section of that says the school resource officer or other qualified staff may be utilized to mediate. Windman Middle School has had an uptick in student fights in recent months. On May 22nd, there was a premeditated vicious attack on one of my students by another one of my students. It involved a student distracting a classroom teacher, other students serving as lookouts, while others caused a ruckus, so the attacker could slip into the distracted teacher's classroom and attack a student. The injured student was brought to the hospital, an investigation happened, and suspensions were issued. I wrote an email to our upper administration and all members of the school committee, to which only 3 of you responded, that very day explaining what happened. So here I am again asking the school committee for help at Windman. Windman needs a school resource officer or other support personnel. It has been 18 months that we have gone without. Windman had a retired administrator, Linda Noble, subbing at Windman for 1 week earlier this spring when fighting had escalated. I saw the social media post of the gentleman, I believe his name is Damon, at Tollgate, and his role as a liaison between students and administrators in addition to their SRO. Pilgrim has an SRO, Mike Higgins, and Joe Kelly monitoring the building. Warwick Vets has an SRO. Tollgate, Pilgrim, and Vets have 2 climate and culture administrators. Windman has only 1. Something needs to happen, please, soon. The occasional popover from SRO Jordan at Tollgate, not to mention poor Al Speaks, Windman's only climate and culture administrator, are not enough. Mr. Speaks is one of the hardest working administrators I have seen. Please consider the needs of Windman when voting on adoption of policies, JFC, student conduct, and JFCN, prohibition against bullying, cyberbullying, harassment, intimidation, and hazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kendra Anderson. I live in Warwick. I'm representing the ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union, on behalf of Stephen Brown as a board member. I'm speaking today on, I guess, file number or letter IGDB, and that's the student publications policy. I think you all got a letter from Stephen Brown, and he did get some responses from some of you as to our concerns. And the main concern is that this is not in alignment with state law. It was based on a 1988 federal law, which really severely curtailed or created a lot of censorship on student publications. And in reaction to that, 12 states, including Rhode Island, enacted their own law in 2017 that allowed for a little more expression or free expression. I know that freedom of speech it can be a slippery slope. It is a difficult, fine line. In fact, when I was recruited for the ACLU's board, it's something I had to think about, because sometimes we have to defend some difficult things. But I'm hoping that the committee will reevaluate their policy, and in particular, the superintendent's broad power to censor or delete or edit anything within a student publication, and also the use of anonymous, if someone wants to express themselves, express an opinion, to be able to do that anonymously. So those are the few things that we had big concerns about, and I wanted to be able to address the board, the committee. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public looking to comment? Any other members of the public looking to comment? Any other members of the public looking to comment? Seeing none, we'll move into recommended actions. Looking for a motion on the approval of minutes of public session, May 14th, 2024.
So moved.
Made by Ms. Backus.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Testa. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Looking for a motion on the approval of minutes from exec session, May 14th, 2024.
So moved.
Made by Ms. Backus.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Testa. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Approval of minutes of public session, May 22, 2024.
So moved.
Motion
Second.
made by Ms. Backus, seconded
Second.
by Mr. Testa. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approval of minutes of executive session, May 22nd, 2024. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Made by Ms. Backus,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Testa. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Looking for a motion, approval of transfers, June 11th, 2024.
So moved.
Made by Ms. Backus,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Testa. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Approval of warrants, June 11th, 2024.
So
Looking for a
moved.
motion. Made by Mr. Testa. I'll second it. All those in favor? Aye. On behalf of Ms. Ruggieri, Dr. Taylor again, announcements, personnel as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the school committee. On behalf of Mr. Jerry, I have the following actions. For retirement, so we do need a vote on this. We have Joanne Savage, attendance clerk at Veterans with 21 years of service.
Looking for a motion.
Move approval.
Made by Mr. Testa.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Hazelwood. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you. Also needing a vote are the resignations. We have 5 resignations. Daniel Caramonte, general music teacher at Windman Middle School. Amanda Iavino, teacher assistant at Welk. Tiffany Beltran, MLL coordinator and coach. Marissa Hudson, our STEM and technology curriculum coordinator. And Fred Schweitzer, our elementary principal at Cedar Hill Elementary School.
Looking for a motion to
Move
approve
approval.
those resignations.
Move approval.
Made by Ms. Backus.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Testa and Ms. Hazelwood. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes.
For appointments, I'll defer to Superintendent Danbrook.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor. For a courtesy announcement, I will be appointing Michelle Devine as the elementary principal at Cedar Hill Elementary School, starting July 1st, 2024. So congratulations, Michelle. Glad she's here. Yeah, sorry.
And as far as unrestricted leave of absences, we have none, and then coaches, if there were any, presented in your packets.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor. On to donations and correspondences. There was a anonymous donation of $500 to Pilgrim High School's athletic department. So on behalf of Warwick Public Schools, we would like to thank whoever that kind individual or individuals were in supporting our school district in athletics. At this time, we'll move into adoption of policies. Second read, looking to my colleagues to see if there is any objection to taking policy, all of those policies as one packet.
No objection.
Seeing none?
No, I
Ms.
object.
Backus?
I would ask that in the spirit of transparency, that we take them all individually.
Is that a motion? Ooh. Would you like to make a motion to take them all individually, Ms. Backus?
I think they're already set to be taken individually.
So it's the chair's prerogative to ask for them to be taken in a group, but if a member wants to make a motion to take them individually, that would be appropriate.
Well, okay, then I make a motion.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
And this is not for us, this is for the public.
Absolutely.
Public's understanding, so that's,
Yep.
I know.
We just need a second at this time. There's a motion on the table. Is there a second to have discussion?
I'll second for discussion.
Second for discussion. Ms. Backus, would you like to maintain your comments?
Pardon?
Would you like to continue with your comment?
I just think we have this meeting, it's our meeting, we do it in public, but it would be probably good if the public knew what we were talking about. And if we're not transparent, we have a group of, and there are some important policies in both the first and second read that I think we should put out there so that people know what's going on and what we're trying to do, and that we are responsible for policy. It's one of our primary responsibilities.
Absolutely. Are you all set? Do you yield?
Yeah.
I would just comment, I disagree with the transparency piece. I actually think that the policy subcommittee has increased the level of transparency in the last 6 months, courtesy of our IT department. All of those meetings are now available online for viewing. They're stored on the Warwick Public Schools page under the school committee section, so people can actually sit there and get more information. They can hear the lively debate on each one of the policies and how all of those policies are constructed. So I would disagree that there's a transparency matter here. I would also state that there is a second, this is the second read, so these items have been presented to us already during the May regular school committee meeting. So at that time, obviously we've had members of the public come here and speak to us a particular policy. So I think members of the public are seeing the policies. They have the ability to read them. Us as a school committee have the ability to read them, and they're getting posted online by the amazing Ms. Tedeschi as required with the Secretary of State. So for that reason, I'm not going to support the motion, just on the basis that it would appear as if we're not transparent. I think there is a higher degree of transparency today, especially with the policy subcommittee broadcasting their meetings. Any other comments?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I may, thank you. The only reason to take them individually would be if we're going to read them all. And we used to read them all, and that's like watching paint dry. Our policies are all public. They're all online. People can see it. They can see first read. They can see second read. So I understand Ms. Backus's point. I just don't think it's necessary, again, unless we're prepared to read every policy. And some of these policies can go several pages. So I wouldn't support that. I do agree with the chair. I think it is, our policies have always been online. So they're very easy to see. Our documents for these meetings are online too. So I don't see an issue with transparency. Or I don't see what the benefit is to go over them one by one. I would just request that when the chair reads them, when we identify them by their letters, just call out what the policy is. So the public would know BF is policy development, GCC is FAM. So people know.
And that would be what I'm asking for, is that they be noted. If anybody has any questions, they can certainly, on the committee, they can ask.
Absolutely.
I just don't think taking them and saying, okay, we're going to vote on this is.
So, oh no, we've been reading them off by the letter. So David wants it read letter and the title.
Yeah.
So do you want to maintain your motion and we vote on it, or would you like to withdraw?
Well, list them.
Yes.
If there's any questions on any of them, open it up for questions. So I would say policy development. Any questions? Move on in the next one.
Okay.
That just so in case anybody
your
has
original
anything
motion
that
is
they
to
want
read,
to.
we're
No,
not
it wasn't
reading
to
each
read.
one individually.
No, it was
Okay.
to address them.
Understood. So then just to clear up any confusion and make this clean, would you like to remove your motion? And we'll read them off as you just suggested?
I'd be happy to.
Okay. Motion withdrawn, Mr. Tedeschi. Okay, that's stated. We're going to take, there was no objection. We're going to take all of the policies in second read. So I would be looking for a motion to approve policy BF, policy development, GCC,
family and medical leave policy, ICICA, school year, school calendar, IF, curriculum development, IGA, basic instructional program, IGAK, responsible use of technology, IGBG, home hospital instruction, IGCC, IGCD, honors program, advanced college placement, IGCCA, honors society, IGD. Dr. Cecil, can we just use numbers? Lots of numbers?
Well, that's a whole nother story.
IGD, co-curricular and extracurricular activities, IGDA, student and community organizations, KD, public participation at committee meetings, KH, gifts from the public to the school district, and KI, guidelines for in-school observations for all parents and guardians.
Excuse me. Could you just briefly describe the public participation at committee meetings, please?
It's a whole
Are you,
policy.
okay, Dr. Cecil, would you like to take that question from Ms. Backus?
Sure, all the meetings are open meetings. All meetings are open meetings, and at times we have members of the public attend, and they ask questions. All members that are on the committee freely offer suggestions. We always edit every policy that comes before the committee to make sure that it's representing all points of view before we bring it forward to this committee.
Thank you, Dr. Cecil. Ms. Backus, we've got a motion on the table before we take any other.
Yep.
We need a motion to approve.
Yep, so moved.
Is there a second? Seconded by Ms. Backus. Any comments?
Yes.
Ms.
So
Backus.
the only thing with the public participation at community meetings, most of our committee meetings allow for public comment also. So just
Yep, Mr. Chair, if I may.
We offer public comment as well, which is why when
Right.
whenever anybody from the community comes to attend the meetings, they have the opportunity at the end of the meeting for public comment, for their public comment.
correct. And we put that right on our agendas, and I just want the public to know that they can always have input.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Mr. Testa.
Thank you. And the policy was revised to essentially just codify how we run the meetings now. Right?
Exactly.
It addresses the 2 public comments, it's 3 minutes apiece and stuff like that. So it was antiquated. It didn't reflect what we do.
What we do, and now it does.
Yeah, so whenever we
Exactly.
change the format of the meeting, we change the policy. So, cool, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Testa. And also, just to add, earlier this year, the report from the ACLU, which referenced the city of Warwick, the council, and the Warwick School Committee, they made suggestions on what we should adopt, and that's why we have that giant novel now that we read off for both of the public comment periods. So I'm comfortable with it. Any other comments regarding all of these policies moving forward for second read? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. So I'm going to suggest to my colleagues that we take all of these as a packet, taking the suggestions of Ms. Backus and Mr. Testa, reading off the letters and the names. However, before we take all that, I'm going to first make a motion that we table and send back to the policy subcommittee based on the ACLU's comments and conversations had today between one of my colleagues, myself, and Attorney Hennius. Send back to the policy subcommittee, IGDB student publications. So I make that motion.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Testa. Ms. Hazelwood, any comments?
Mr. Chair, yep, that's fine. I don't think that there's dramatic changes that need to be made there, but that's why we have an attorney, so that's fine with me.
Any other comments?
Oh, no, on this one.
You're all set?
Yep.
Seeing none, all those in favor with sending IGDB back, student publications back to the policy subcommittee?
Aye.
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 Motion passes. So I would now be looking to make for someone to make a motion to approve the following policies for first read. IGDF's student fundraising activities. IHA, grouping for instruction. IIAA, textbook selection and adoption. IKE, promotion and retention of students. JE, student attendance. JEB, entrance age. JFC, student conduct. JFCC, student conduct on school buses. JFCH, tobacco, alcohol, and drug abuse by students. JFCN, prohibition against bullying, cyberbullying, harassment, intimidation, hazing, teen dating violence, and sexual violence.
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Testa.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Backus.
Discussion.
Any comments?
Yes.
Mr. Testa?
Ms. Kirby.
Ms. Kirby-Chair.
Before we left policy, IGDF was supposed to be tabled. I don't know how it got in here, because we were supposed to discuss it further. There were two policies that we said that we just tabled till the next meeting. One of them got tabled, but that one didn't.
It wasn't tabled. We were to make changes to it, which I did.
I was under the impression that we were tabling it.
I'm happy to do that, but everything that we discussed, which was, let me just get to it, I'm sorry. IGDF. Which talked about differentiating between
Right.
school fundraising and PTA fundraising.
Right, but then I even brought up like bake sales, and that's still in here. There was just more discussion I thought we should have, so I guess I would like to make the motion that I would, I guess the table is
One second, we have one motion on the table at this time.
I think that it would be a motion to amend your motion to remove IGDF from the packet, and then there would be a subsequent motion to table that.
Okay, so would you like to make that motion?
yes, please, what you said.
Second.
Any discussion on that amended motion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Policy IGDF, student fundraising activities, has been sent back to policy subcommittee.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I have
Mr. Testa.
I have a question on IKE, promotion and retention of students.
Dr. Cecil.
Thank you, Dr. Cecil. So in reading the policy, the last paragraph, the last sentence, exceptions will be made after prior notification, documentation, blah, 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 but the final decision will rest with the building principal. Is there any instance where the parent would trump the administration as far as if they think the child should be retained? I don't, because that's something that comes up every once in a while,
Yeah.
right?
No, honestly, it needs, the decision rests with the district and with the building principal.
Okay, so Attorney Hennis, if a parent vehemently disagrees with that, do they have any type of appeals process to ride?
Yes, by statute, a parent can appeal any decision of a school committee or an administrator to ride.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that there was some protection there for a parent who just disagrees. So, okay, thank you.
Ms. Cusino has something.
Ms. Cusino?
Hi, yes, thank you. My comment would be, I don't know if I'm allowed to make any suggestions, but the principals usually do loop Bill or I in the case of retention, and so things are not solely at the building level. They do consult us as well, and there's kind of a rigorous packet that I make them go through to kind of look at the data and how many parent meetings have you had and what interventions and how much RTI, and there's a whole big complex procedure, but perhaps building principals / director or administration or something like that might make it more clear.
Okay, no, I'm fine with that. I just wanted to make sure, I'm fine with the way the policy is written. I just had a question. It was more from the parent side. So as long as there is an avenue, an outlet for a parent to say, I don't agree with your decision, and I'm going to go take that avenue, that's fine. I would assume that it wouldn't just be the building principal that would decide. They would have to have consultations with elementary or secondary ed directors. That's only logical, and department heads and teachers and everybody else. So thank you.
Any other comments?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, Ms. Backus.
Generally, do we hold students back in K through 8?
So research shows that it's not very productive to keep students back after 3rd grade. Mostly we think about it more in the primary years, in like a K1, 2, maybe if a student didn't have any preschool experience or has some social emotional behaviors or things like that. So it's really on a case by case. It's not that we don't. I have actually in 3rd grade kept a student back here or there myself, but it's really on a case by case, and the data really tells the story.
Are you allowed to do that per ride, or do they
You can
discourage it?
It's no more than 2 retentions per student in the K through 12. I think that's the way that it's written now. But it's definitely a process that we take very seriously.
And what about high school? Is that different?
I don't know. Detail.
High school?
High school,
It's
repetition of the grade.
No, that was me. That's credits.
Right.
In high school, it's credit-based,
Mhm.
so they need to achieve a certain amount of number of credits to move forward to the next grade, and they graduate based upon credits as well.
They have to have so many credits to
Yes.
graduate. Thank you. Nothing further.
All set. Yield. Any other comments? Seeing none, I would just, Ms. Cousineau, on policy IKE, I would suggest that, just so there's clarity on it, that your recommendation be passed on to Dr. Cecil, the chair of the subcommittee policy, Ms. Kirby Chapman, so that way it can get added into that policy. Because I think it's a good add, alleviates confusion. And, but tonight we can, Attorney Henny has stated that we can pass it as is. You make your amendment and come back before us on the second read.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. At this time, I would be looking for a motion to approve the June policies for elimination.
So moved.
Made by Mr. Testa.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Hazelwood. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. On to new business, discussion presentation, Warwick's Vision for Learning, Ms. Murray and Dr. Schultz. We come down there? Great.
Did you want me to speak first? Okay. Yeah. Mr. Chair, members of the school committee, before we see the presentation, I'd like to present how we're moving forward in my vision for teaching and learning in the future. So this is truly an exciting time for education in Warwick. We are moving forward with our work to reimagine the model we use to engage teachers and students in the educational process. I'd like to share my vision for the future of teaching and learning. In a world of constant change, the time has come to transform our approach to education. The traditional one-size-fits-all methods no longer suffice. Designing lessons for the average student does not address the diverse needs of our learners. Every student has a unique learning profile, and our challenge is to provide opportunities for each of them to reach their full potential. The urgency for this transformation cannot be overstated. The rapidly evolving demands of the modern world require us to equip our students with the skills, knowledge, and adaptivity they need to thrive. Waiting is not an option. Our students deserve the best education now to prepare them for the successful future. We must reimagine the future of teaching and learning in Warwick schools. I am immensely proud of the progress our teachers and administrators have made towards this goal. Their dedication is evident in the strides we've taken towards innovative education. Our vision of a graduate is the cornerstone of this transformation, defining key elements of modern teaching and learning. However, the implementation of these elements varies across the district. By focusing on consistent and comprehensive adoption, we can ensure that every student benefits from a future-focused education. We must act swiftly and decisively. Together, we can create a learning environment that meets the needs of all students, preparing them for success in an ever-changing world. The future of our students and our community depends on our commitment to this urgent transformation. I challenge members of the Warwick school community to reimagine education so that we can reach every child's potential. And I'd like to thank my team, Lisa, Patty, Christian, Paul, and Bill, and Jeff. I'm sorry I used informal names, but thank you. I look forward to your presentation that follows this, and thank you.
No, no problem.
All right, the popcorn will be around shortly. All right, we've changed the order of things a little bit. I get to go first, thanks to Dr. Schultz. So this is our new logo, Warwick Public Schools Light the Way. This was done in collaboration with the Career and Tech Center and Miss Jess in the Ed Tech Center, as well as the Warwick team members that Superintendent Danbrook just mentioned. Everything that Superintendent mentioned is sort of our vision, and it will be embedded in all these slides. Special note to modern learning environment, rigorous and relevant learning, and learner-centered. Let's see. I'm never good with the remote. Try it again. There we go. We're going to start in the bottom left-hand corner with the one-room schoolhouse, the way we used to see things many, many, many years ago. Even before I started, that was the way they used to go to school. In the top left corner, that was sort of whole class teaching all day long, all in rows, all lined up. We sort of moved to the top middle with small group instruction, and we moved towards collaboration. And then the last three photos, all on the right-hand side, really focusing on hands-on learning, inquiry-based learning, project-based learning. The center slide is all about collaboration and student discourse, which we took on board just a couple years ago and made great strides using that technique. And cooperative groups and innovative spaces where we can learn side by side from our students as well.
So a little bit about Warwick, Rhode Island. Warwick is one of the oldest cities in the United States and boasts a rich history dating back to 1642. With its roots in agriculture and maritime activities, Warwick has evolved into a bustling economic hub with thriving business district and innovative entertainment spaces. With a blend of traditional charm and modern commerce, it is an ideal place for both residents and entrepreneurs to coexist with historical landmarks. The latest census shows Warwick is the second largest city in the state with over 82,000 residents. We have over 8,000 students attending one of our 19 schools, and the district has approximately 875 educators. Warwick residents have a strong commitment to educating their youth. In 2022, the voters of Warwick passed a bond to support the construction of 2 new high schools. The High School Construction Committee is working on the vision for new high schools, keeping in mind the need for new, modern learning environments.
So we are obligated to prepare our students for life after graduation. Our district prioritizes collaboration and student discourse as integral aspects of learning, but we can't stop there. We are committed to modernizing our teaching approach, blending rigorous instruction and technology to equip our students for their future. We aim to cultivate student-driven classrooms where questions, voices, and problem-solving skills take center stage, providing providing center stage. Throughout this journey, we are going to keep the vision of a graduate, providing numerous relevant learning opportunities and pathways with success beyond graduation.
The district has established a vision of a graduate. Schools are preparing graduates for a future that requires them to not only have content knowledge, but also the transferable skills and dispositions necessary for success in a diverse and rapidly changing world. In Warwick, we want our students to be innovative problem solvers, critical thinkers, skilled communicators, healthy and balanced learners, empathetic collaborators, empowered citizens, and continuous learners. These important attributes must be defined clearly by schools, and systems must be put in place to authentically assess and give feedback to students on their progress towards proficiency. The most important challenge facing educators is shifting the focus of teaching and learning from content knowledge to not only content knowledge, but skill development. The vision of a graduate provides a framework that helps schools in this work by creating a vision for learning that matches the needs of modern classrooms, colleges, communities, and careers.
This next slide does have a lot on it, and I'm not going to be reading it to everybody, but I do encourage you to check it out when you have time. This is something that we lovingly call the theory of action. We've worked very hard on this, and it aligns with our district strategic plan with when, then, and then so that statements. The most important part of this is that students become lifelong learners where they're able to pursue their personal and professional goals, but also really embody our vision of a graduate so they can be citizens who contribute to a diverse and global society. If you look at the bottom line there, this is kind of our tagline: we continually grow, we will continually grow as an innovative educational community committed to the learning of all, not some students, all students.
And one of the things that really undergirds everything we do within the district is the fact that the Warwick Public Schools has so many great community partners. Up there's about 30 different partners, and there's even more that we could mention, and just highlighting great relationships with WTU, WISE, Warwick Beacon, Boys and Girls Club, Rhode Island Interscholastic League, RIPCOA, Mentor RI. I'd be remiss not to say Providence College as well. So we have great partnerships. And also URI. So also, you'll see here, this is our vision for modern learning timeline. As we all know, with systemic change, especially change of this magnitude, it's all about good planning and change over time and making sure that it's quite manageable. We're beginning our journey of embracing today's culture and innovation by incorporating modern technology and methodologies into our learning environment. The work in yellow in the first arrow is where we're at this year. Steering committee formed, work as the steering committee is learning and exploring together and building a lot of what you've seen tonight. Moving on to next year, leadership work and development continues. We're going to begin working with our first cohort of learners, and that's going to lead into a couple-year span where we're continuing to rebrand, new teaching vision, widely shared for modern learning, and then ultimately in the 26-27, as a district, we're embracing modern learning holistically, and we will continue to collaborate and support each other as a steering committee, but also all educators and stakeholders across the district. And we light the way for student success. That's our goal, that's our mission. Thank you.
So I have a presentation on behalf of the business office tonight. There's about 30 slides here from Tyler Technologies. I'm only going to be sharing about 2 of them, so no need to worry about the length of the presentation. One of the things that we've come across in my year plus here is just the accounting system that we're working with, the budgeting system, the payroll system. Our current service provider is not providing service at a level that this district needs, especially at the size of the district now with a $190 million budget. I've worked for a number of different private firms prior to coming here. Have worked with probably 7, 8, 9 different financial reporting systems, as well as different financial system implementations. And I can honestly say this has been the most difficult system to work with. Usually as a finance professional, accountant, whatever, if you just get into the system, start tinkering around, it's intuitive enough that you'll be able to figure things out. But there's just very simple things with our current system that any accountant, finance professional should be able to do intuitively that we're just not able to do. We reached out to RIDE, the Rhode Island Department of Education, to ask for just some numbers on what other districts are using. And our current service provider didn't even register on the graph that they provided because I believe we're the only district using it. There's actually more districts in Rhode Island using QuickBooks than there are our current service provider. So the folks at Tyler Technologies who have a product called Munis came to the district and did a demo for us. We were thoroughly impressed with all the offerings that they had, from payroll, HR, financial reporting, budgeting. It's an integrated ERP system, so everything's linked. So when something happens on the HR side, payroll is automatically updated on their side. So instead of the more manual processes that we have in place today that require humans to remember to do something and then communicate it to somebody else, the system will just automatically process things from end to end. So I think we're pretty excited about the automation. I'm here more just to give everybody some highlights of the demo. Did I hit the wrong button? Wrong way, sorry. Skipping. So one of the things that gives us confidence about the company as well, so Tyler Technologies is publicly traded. You can look up the ticker on finance.yahoo or Google Finance to see their business metrics. They do $1 billion+ in revenue annually, and so there's no concerns over stability and whether or not they will be around to be our service provider in the next couple years. They've been doing this since 1966, and they specifically offer their services to government agencies, municipalities, and schools. And schools is one of their biggest business segments. We'll skip all the pretty graphics. We'll just talk. There we go. So this is one of the big highlights from the presentation. These are the other districts and towns within Rhode Island that are using Munis. One of the big highlights, Rhode Island, the Rhode Island Department of Education has something called UCOA, the Uniform Chart of Accounts, which is basically the accounting and budgeting system in place in Rhode Island so that RIDE can collect data on all districts that's uniform. Munis already has UCOA built into the system for Rhode Island clients, so there's no sort of adjustment period where we have to be talking to a service provider about how we set up our accounts or how many digits are in the accounts or anything like that. It's already set up in the system. But again, I think over to the right where it says in good company, you see the other towns and cities that are using this software. It gives us good confidence, especially some of the relationships that I've formed with other business officials in the state, including Cranston Public Schools, who have been extremely helpful in my time here. They are a longtime customer. I think Tyler Technologies said that they've been using it since the 1980s, maybe 1990s. One of the other big benefits, you'll see that the city of Warwick is listed there. So At year end, when we're going through our financial statement audit along with the city of Warwick, there is a lot of data mismatch, and we're running certain reports in a different format than they're running them, and we end up having to reconcile data. The hope is that when we switch over to Munis and we're using the same reporting system, there won't be that data mismatch anymore. They'll run one report, we'll run the same report, compare numbers, we'll be good. So I think that there's some efficiencies that we'll be able to realize by working with the city of Warwick as well in the same system. So again, this is just showing some of the offerings that come along with the system. One of the again, the current system that we're using is just disjointed, where like if there's, say somebody was paid incorrectly in payroll, payroll has to make that adjustment. We have to manually push cash out or recover cash. And then on the accounting side, we have to make manual journal entries in the system. Munis, again, is an integrated ERP system where if there is some sort of error or something like that in payroll, you adjust it in payroll, all of the journal entries flow automatically to the general ledger so that there's no sort of human intervention on the accounting side. Again, I think that there's immense benefits to the operations side of things within the district with onboarding a system where processes are automated as opposed to sort of like manual intervention all the time. I think that's really it. I'll keep clicking just to make sure there's nothing else I wanted to share, but yeah, that was it.
Are there any comments from members of the committee? I would just make a couple. First off, great presentation by the entire administration on our school system. You can tell that for the past couple of years you've been trying to embed kind of a management system and how we'll guide the children moving forward with the new curriculum. And you could see with our internal diagnostics that it's starting to mature and we're starting to reap some of those benefits. I was speaking with Principal Pagan the other day. Lipid's performance numbers, huge, massive. Ms. Cousineau, off the top of my head, they went from like 13 to...
They were, last year they were currently ranked around 13 in the district, and now they're currently 3.
So extreme growth. New principal over there, first year principal. The teachers, fantastic job. You know, you could tell that it's not only the system, but the teachers, the principal, and the support from the administration and everyone else that's part of the school system. So really appreciate that presentation. The second thing, on the enterprise resource platform, Mr. Bowl showed some of the functionality of it. We went through it at length. As someone who works in the private sector, and Mr. Tessa could probably speak to this as well, ERPs are essential. If you have a terrible ERP, the amount of inefficiencies, inadequacies, errors, variants that can come into play when everybody in each department is kind of operating in their own silo, it's incredible. So seeing that this system kind of breaks down those silos and improves efficiency, it's a great thing. So I certainly support this moving forward. I know that it's going to be quite the transition, roughly a year. I think we were discussing to 15 months. There are a little bit of additional cost here because we're going to be transitioning from the existing ERP that's currently under contract, but I think that additional cost will soon be offset with the return from going to this new ERP. And then the last good benefit from it also being the fact that the city of Warwick uses it as well, as you noted. So great job, everyone, on the presentation and way to bring forward the new ERP.
Mr. Chair, if I may, thank you. Dr. Schultz and everybody who did the Vision of a Graduate presentation, thank you. You know, the Lippitt results are, you know, music to my ears, because a lot of our schools have seen dramatic rises. So, you know, a rising tide lifts all boats. And we've seen a lot of good movement K through 8, right? So the challenge now is to translate that in K through 12. And you know, when I looked at the slide deck and you presented it tonight, some of the statistics that you put up there, as Ms. Netko alluded to in public comment about the critics and the naysayers and everything else, they'll look at those numbers. And I would just point to two things. And one, you said we educate all students, because we do. And a lot of the naysayers and critics will throw up these schools that do not, because they don't have to. They don't have behavioral issue children. They don't have IEP children. They don't have medically fragile kids. They have none of that. We do. We do. And it's incumbent upon us to educate every one of them. And I applaud the commitment that this district makes to them. So, and to that effort, everybody. And Mr. Bowl, when your thing comes up for a vote, I just have a couple of questions for you there, but I'm in agreement with Mr. Galligan. We can't be operating like it's 1975. So.
Any other comments from members of the committee? Ms. Backus.
Well done. We've come a long way. You're doing a phenomenal job. This district has come so far in the decade that I've been here, and it's really moved significantly since the current administration came to be only a few short years ago. And so I'm excited to see what else we're going to be able to do for kids and for the city going forward. The new program that Mr. Bowl is talking about is, I just see so many great uses for that and so much information we can pull from that without, you know, just having a thought and saying, well, you know, how many people came in 20 years ago? And you can just bring it right up like that, and all kinds of stuff, you know, what was our budget, you know, be able to go back. So that too is very exciting. So I think we're on a very good path, and I have full confidence that if this remains, we will be back to top 5 districts in a short period of time. And I want to thank everyone, administrators, teachers, students, parents, interested persons, people who care about Warwick and Warwick schools. I want to thank everyone for all the work, the hard work that they've put in. I'm filled with gratitude for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from members of the committee? Seeing none, next item, discussion update, Warwick Special Education Advisory Committee. Ms. Cardello.
Good evening. I'm Jennifer Cardello, and I'm the chairperson of the Warwick Special Education Advisory Committee. Tonight, I wanted to recap the work that the WSCAC has done during this school year. This was my first official year as the chairperson of the Warwick Special Education Advisory Committee, and I was delighted that our Warwick community had the opportunity to share their ideas, air their concerns, and attend several events. This year, we held 3 community events: IEP 101 in November, a transition night in February, and a session on student anxiety in May. We also held several regular meetings in between, including a well-attended forum for the community in March on the elementary education special education changes. Our community events, along with our meetings, enable our community to provide direct input to school district leaders about policies, programs, practices, and services that impact our students with disabilities and their families. And we're really delighted this year that we've had a bit of a change and everything's been really well attended, and that we've had a lot of chances for parents and teachers and staff to give their input. I know, working in private industry and also with this role here, that you can't do things by yourself. And it takes a community and it takes a really good team to be successful, and we've really benefited this year from that, especially from support from the parents, our Warwick School District teachers and staff, and the special services team. And I wanted to highlight a few of those people tonight who really helped us make it this far this year and are going to set us on a really great path for the future for the upcoming school year. That included David Allenbach and Jen Barber, our special services directors, who have answered, and quite frankly, insane amount of questions from the Warwick community during our calls and our forums and our events, and also served as the presenters for the IEP 101 presentation in November. Carrie Walker, who pulled together, she's a teacher in this district, who pulled together and hosted our transition night in February. Dawn Miller, who's the Secretary for Special Services, who probably has answered more emails from me this year than any other, helping out with all of our questions on logistics and agendas and more. Dr. Heather Pelletier, who presented our session on student anxiety in May. Leah Hazelwood, our WSCAC liaison, who gave me lots of advice and tips as I moved into the chairperson role. Sean, thank you again so much. You ensured that the word got out about the WSCAC, and you supported our attendance at the school committee this year so that the community could hear about what we were doing and have a chance to attend our meetings and our events. And finally, Caitlin Regan, my right hand, our secretary for the committee, who went, I can't even tell you, above and beyond to make sure that we were able to function as we needed to, and was so dedicated and so open and willingness to take the lead on many things. We will not be holding a meeting in June. We're going to take a little break. So our next scheduled meeting will be in August 2024. We'll announce the meeting date and the time on our homepage. We look forward to continuing our work for the Warwick community and look forward to seeing everyone in the next school year. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Cardillo. Any comments for Ms. Cardillo from members of the committee? Ms. Hazelwood.
Am I on? Sorry about that. They're always telling me to speak into the mic, so. I just want to thank you for coming out and giving these updates, and really for making the meetings really informative for the parents and the public, and all the transparency that you bring to the whole process with the IEPs, and how great our teachers are, our special ed teachers in Warwick. We always give them a shout out, and they are wonderful. So I just want to thank you for making that known.
Thank you so much.
Any other comments from members of the committee? Ms. Backus.
Thank you for all that you do and all that that committee does to help our kids
We appreciate
and
it. Thank you.
families.
Any other comments? I would just echo the comments of my two colleagues, and I would just say that over the past year and a half, it's been amazing to see what you and your team have done with that subcommittee, seeing the rise meeting after meeting in attendance. So that means people are starting to see and understand what you do and how you can support them. And so as a parent of 2 children that utilize special services, I say thank you very much. You've done a great job. I can't wait to see what you guys do in the upcoming school year.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. Thank you all.
Next item, discussion update, superintendent update, Ms. Danbrook. And before she goes, I would like to note that Ms. Danbrook walked the entire Gatsby Day parade in high heels. So if that isn't a leader, Ms. Danbrook.
My claim to fame.
Just one more thing, she didn't even break a sweat.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have 3 topics I'd like to discuss tonight. The first one's quite amazing. Last week we had the Rhode Island Department of Ed come down to announce that Melissa O'Neill was selected as the 2025 Rhode Island Teacher of the Year. Melissa teaches kindergarten at Oakland Beach Elementary School. We will celebrate this outstanding accomplishment at an upcoming school committee meeting. We are so very proud of Mrs. O'Neill. This is quite an honor and a huge accomplishment. Second update is summer assignments. So I worked with the curriculum director, Ms. Schultz, Dr. Schultz. Summer assignments for all students were sent to schools for distribution last Friday. The assignments will also be posted on our website and Facebook page. So if there are parents out there that haven't heard anything about summer assignments, please contact your child's school to receive the information. And also the last one is kindergarten registration for the year 24-25. I encourage families who have children turning 5 by September 1st to register them for kindergarten class as soon as possible. At the end of the summer, it's very hectic, and it's not as smooth of a process as it is now. So, please, if you know you have a child attending kindergarten, I advise you to go do so now. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Danbrook. Any comments for the superintendent from members of the committee? Seeing none. Discussion update, FY 2024 monthly financial report and year-end review. Mr. Bowe.
I've provided my, good evening, Mr. Chair, rest of the school committee. I've provided my June update. If there are any questions, as always, please direct them to myself or the appropriate person in my office.
Any questions from members of the committee for Mr. Bowe? Mr. Tisch.
Thank you. It's not a question, it's just a comment. Lunch fund balance is now $295,421.96, an increase of $23,423.10.
Thank you. Any other comments from members of the committee? Seeing none. Next item, discussion update, bond project status update, Mr. Gothberg.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, committee members, community. I'll make this quick. Bond construction, Oakland Beach. Believe it or not, switchgear came 10 days early and is being installed as of 6/10. Building will be on generator power for a couple of weeks while we make those final connections. Finishes are being installed, exterior doors are being installed. Mr. Oliver's custodial team is inside cleaning room by room, following behind as we finish areas. And the movers start moving back 6/21. So we are on schedule to open that in September. Greenwood transformer was delivered last evening. Switchgear has been delivered, and when we get moving, as soon as school gets out, that'll all be put together. Everything is in place for a 6/24 start and a successful summer project. Warwick Neck, all items have been ordered. We have added a drainage system to the site package there to intercept groundwater that's coming down that big hill from Warwick Neck Avenue and flooding the parking lot. Work is to commence on 6/21. The elevator installation will more than likely run into late September, but that work will be confined to the elevator shaft itself and will not impact education at all. Green building, if the bid is approved tonight, contractor is ready to start work on 6/21, and we'll get that RIAA project moving. At Holloman, all long lead time items have been submitted and ordered. Work will begin as soon as Gorton Swing Space is ready to receive the move from Holloman to Gorton, and we are projecting an approximate start of that work at 8/15 in the middle of August. Playgrounds, Sherman has been completed. There is no board in place there. Oakland Beach was completed last week. There's no board in place rubber there. Welk project has started and will continue for another month. Greenwood poured in place rubber will start this Thursday, 6/13. Will be completed should be completed in 2 days. The PIP, the poured in place, will need to set for that weekend, and we're looking to open that on that Monday as soon as they pull down the fence. Hoxie poured in place is scheduled to begin on 6/24, and that will follow the same process, 2 days installation, and we'll protect it for 2 days, and then they'll pull the fence down, and that will be open. So that's what I have. Happy to answer any questions, and happy that we can get these playgrounds done.
Amen to that.
Ms. Backus.
Amen to that, and thank you for all your hard work. I know you've been working very hard on everything, and that people have been very upset about the playgrounds, but they're
Yeah,
coming together, and nobody's holding it back. It's just a matter of service and delivery times.
But they're going now, so we'll get it done.
It's a good thing. Thank you for all your hard work.
Any other comments from members of the committee?
Good news,
Mrs.
it's just real good news. It's good to hear that they're coming together and the community will be enjoying them, the children will be enjoying them, and I bet you can't wait to get this behind you. Thank you for everything you do.
We've tried to do 5 a year, 3 a year, and they're always difficult.
Thank you very much.
Any other comments from members of the committee? I have 3 4-year-olds on my T-ball team that attend Welk, and I've been getting weekly updates, so I'm glad to hear that there's trucks there, big trucks.
Big stuff
things
came in.
happening, so-
Actually, we had a slight delay there because the sewer, WSA wanted to check a couple things out. So they brought in the big equipment today, so they were like, kids were very excited.
Nice. I just want you to know I got little spies out there, and if I ever come at you with misinformation, I'm just going off of what they're telling me, okay? Thank you. Next item, discussion update, high school project update, Mr. Gothberg and Mr. Spiegel from left field.
We will turn it over to Mr. Chris Spiegel, who will give his monthly update to the committee.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, members of the community. A couple items I did just want to touch on briefly before I got into my report. The first is I apologize for not being able to attend the last school committee. I had some dental surgery. Trust me, I would have much rather been here than in that dentist chair. The second is I just wanted to reassure this committee that everything that the superintendent and her leadership team talked about in terms of 21st century education and the vision for Warwick moving forward is encouraged and supported by the design process that we're currently going through. You know, we have to remember, as the superintendent said, education has changed substantially in the past 50, 60 years. And we need to understand that our buildings need to change in order to support 21st century educational programming. You know, as such, you know, we think about these schools that were built 60, 70 years ago. They were built for an economy that in many cases no longer exists anymore. You know, this one-size-fits-all typical student approach is built for manufacturing. And as we all know, manufacturing is not a significant career in the United States anymore. You know, with that being said, the spaces that we are designing, you know, encourage creativity, collaboration, communication, critical thinking. These are the skills that are in high demand, and we want to make sure that our spaces reflect that in the design. You know, having said that, I just want to reassure that the same vision that the superintendent and her leadership team has for the district, our designers and the project team have for the 2 high schools. In terms of the work that has been completed over the last month, at this time, all consultants have now been brought on board. That includes a legal team for a project labor agreement study. A project labor agreement study is a requirement by Rhode Island law. 2 preliminary meetings have also been held with RIDE School Building Authority and RIDE SBA. We had those meetings prior to our official submission. We'd like to do that to get any of the kinks out, give Dr. De Silva and his team time to comment, so that basically we aren't surprised by any of the comments that might come back as part of an official review. RIDE has been very supportive. Our last meeting with RIDE was actually just yesterday. RIDE has been incredibly supportive of the work to date. We've also completed our first round of, so schematic design, value management has been completed. There have been no changes to the quality or the educational scope of the program. The majority of the changes have to do with the constructability of the buildings and reining in unnecessary design embellishment. We have to remember that prior to the onboarding of these consultants, including Left Field and Dimeo, the design was completed in a vacuum. So when designs are completed in a vacuum, you don't often get all of the other feedback that you can get from the people that are going to build the project, the people that are going to be managing the project. So some of the examples of things that were considered were, we found out the electrical service was oversized for the building. Using epoxy floors in kitchens as opposed to tile, they're much easier on maintenance, they're much more cost effective. Items like that, right? Aligning the structural skeleton of the building for repeatability. Things that are repeating are much easier to build. That doesn't mean that the floor plan is repeatable. It means that just the structural steel of what's actually supporting the floors is repeatable and much more easy to build. In addition to that exercise, we're looking for our schematic design submissions to be submitted with RIDE in the coming weeks. It will be a staggered review process. RIDE is short-staffed, so we're going to be submitting Pilgrim first, and then submitting Tollgate right on the heels of that. And again, the next round of design development will start in early July. So that's the next phase of this project. That's when we start drilling down on more of the details. That's when we start looking at landscaping plans and things like that. As of right now, everything is very schematic. It's room layouts, it's site layouts, it's specifications for equipment. As we move forward through the project, we drill down on the details and we start to get even finer refinements in our pricing. Happy to take any questions on anything I've discussed so far.
Any comments from members of the committee? I have one question. When will the community be able to see renderings of what is getting closer and closer to being conceptual, like legitimate, not conceptual anymore?
So that's a great question. So schematic design, once we wrap up schematic design, we receive approval from RIDE. That's when we'll feel comfortable sharing the floor plans, the building exterior elevations, because right now they are conceptual. Until we get that sign-off from RIDE on our schematic design, things can still change significantly. So we don't want to show a product, everyone say, make their comments on that product, get bogged down into details about paint colors and things like that, when we're still trying to changing our schematic design. There's a lot that can change between SD and DD, and we want to make sure that we're capturing that. But having said that, everything about the building gets discussed. By the time we have this project fully designed, we will know where every single tree is going to be on that site, every single paint color, every single pattern of tile, where every single faucet is. Everything will be completely laid out for the public to digest.
You're envisioning a public forum, something eventually here in the summertime?
At the school buildings committee's discretion, it would make sense once we get schematic design approval to go out to the community and say, here's the schematic design is approved, and listen to people's comments. Not much will change about the schematic design, but it's certainly an opportunity for the public to weigh in on, design elements of the project, how the spaces could be used, items like that.
Great, and I think the biggest question from the critics in the community would be, at this moment in time, are we still on time and on budget?
We're on time and on budget within our contingencies,
and
yes.
Still looking for March of 2023 to break ground, 2025.
March of 2025, you'll see mobilization, yes.
Great, thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Thank you. Mr. Chair, if I may. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay, Mr. Tester. Go ahead. You go first. You had the mic. Mine is easy. I know when you gave the presentation, you had presented that there would be a website that the public could go to answer, potential questions, frequently asked questions, and they would be able to see some of those designs and such as we progress. When will that be available to the public?
That website will launch right around the time that we have schematic design approval. And again, it's for the same reason that we don't want to be showing a product that changes significantly.
Perfect.
Right now, everything that's been shared is essentially the stage 2 documentation that was already made widely available to the public. But once we get that SD submittal approval from RIDE, then you'll start to see the construction frequently asked questions come in. And again, I think that forum is a great opportunity for us to listen to the community and hear what their questions are and put them on the website. So I'd say 6 weeks probably, 6 to 8 weeks, we'd have the website up.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Mr. Chair, thank you. Mr. Spiegel, just to the chair's question on time and on budget, yes, and I just want to reiterate that I think, as you know, Mr. Spiegel, Mr. Gothberg, myself, the rest of the building committee, we've made it very, very, very clear that there's not another dime for this project. And I have to say, I've been very impressed with Left Field's work, Dimio's commitment to making sure that that happens. And I'm just as excited about this project as I was when we passed the bond. I can't wait until we get to that stage where we've got something to show, because it's truly going to be exciting. So, and your commitment to staying within the budget and in the architects too, you know, is commendable.
Yeah, we're working very hard for you. We have to remember the budgets for this project were set 18 months ago. A lot has changed in these last 18 months. So we're doing our due diligence. We're reconfirming the educational program. And of course, we're always looking at other ways to provide value and build the building for cheaper. So that's what a lot of this has been about.
Thank you. Any other comments from members of the committee? Questions? Seeing none? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goff. Item 8, discussion update. Temporary Advisory Committee on Physical Education, Mr. McCaffrey.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, I've been tasked with putting together a committee of educators to look at physical education K to 12. We've met several times. The committee is made up of 2 school committee members, some administrators, PE teachers at all levels. In our meeting, we looked at what we currently offer at elementary, middle, and the high school level. And in doing so, we've made some recommendations. Some recommendations have already been addressed, and some are a work in progress. We're going to be using this document based upon the professionals in the field to look at our practice, make adjustments to our offerings to make Warwick a better school system. Very positive meetings. The educators had a lot to bring to the table, and very productive. So with those recommendations, now we're going to bring the work back to the central office, bring together some stakeholders, and move forward with some action plans.
Thank you.
You should have, in your package, you should have the recommendations that were sent out by Teresa Tedeschi.
Any comments from members of the committee?
I'll just agree with Mr. McCaffrey. They were very productive. We heard from the educators themselves about what's happening in the buildings and what we need to do going forward. And it's workable. It's going to need some things to happen, but Mr. McCaffrey was wonderful. You were wonderful to work with, as always. And I appreciate the effort you put in to everything there, as well as to Ms. Necco, who came out, Ms. Backus, and the educators that were present, Mr. Durand, and we had Mr. Flanders, and I forgot the guy at the elementary level, but I don't want to not say his name.
Jared Dialmo.
Jared and Ms. Raza. I appreciate everybody putting in the time at 7 a.m., coming out for the meeting, and thank you, Mr. McCaffrey, for everything.
Thank you, Ms. Hazelwood. Any other comments? Ms. Backus.
I wish all meetings and committees ran as well as those meetings ran, even though they were at 7 a.m. I'm a night person. That's all right. Anything for the schools, but it proved I think that team in the meetings, it proved how much we really need everybody at the table, teachers, administrators, ancillary staff. So thank you for all of that.
Any other comments? I want to thank, first and foremost, all my colleagues up here for supporting this initiative several months ago when we passed it. I want to thank Ms. Hazelwood and Ms. Backus for representing the school committee on it, all the members of the administration that joined that team, Ms. Netco as well, representing the union, and also Ms. Raza, Mr. Dialmo, Mr. Flanders, and Mr. Durand. Those were 4 individuals who, when I first got onto the school committee, they said, if there's anything I could do to support you with increasing physical education within the school system, let me know. So I want to thank those 4 teachers for volunteering, putting themselves out there, and as subject matter experts, bringing their information forward. We've heard it time and time again. for Ms. Necco, who leads the union. She talks about increasing physical education, especially at the secondary level. We need these kids to get active for health reasons, but also to get some energy out, so that way it can improve kind of how the students behave within the classroom and make things easier on the teachers. So knowing that she supports it, and we've just got a small little minor change that we need to make with regards to block scheduling, I'm excited. I'm excited that this is something that's conceptual right now, and it's going to come to fruition. So thank you to every member of the committee for the recommendations. Next item, discussion action, revised FY25 budget. Mr. Bowl.
Hello again. So I've provided everyone with the budget overview with the recommended changes from the administration, as well as the Word doc, which just is basically a summary of the changes that have been made since the last version of the budget that we looked at. At a high level, the budget is now $190.67 million. The revenue section's been updated for the city's final allocation after the city council approved the city's budget. There were some small tweaks to revenue as well. Tuitions from other LEAs is up relatively significantly in fiscal year 24, and so we revised that revenue number upward from 900,000 to 1.3 million. State aid right now, as it stands, is about the governor's recommended budget included about 45.38 million in state aid. The budget as it stands right now at the House Senate is for 1.36 million more than that, which is great for the school district. Out of conservatism, we're only adding 500,000 of that to the budget because we don't know what the final number will look like until the Senate votes on it. I do believe it passed the House unchanged, but it is with the House or the Senate Fiscal Committee now. So those were the changes to the revenue figures. As far as expenses, it's more just a little shuffling around. I think we were a little over-conservative with out-of-district tuitions after looking at what our expenses have been for out-of-district tuitions through Q4 of fiscal year 24. So we're taking about $600,000 of out-of-district tuitions and more or less putting that towards transportation. I think we cut too much from transportation in the first round of budget cuts. And given the way that the contract negotiations are going, I think that we need to add a little bit more funding to the transportation lines for our contract with First Student. Some other smaller expense items, we're adding Smart Pass at the high school level. I think this has been sort of like a favorite program at the middle school level, so we're just looking for $13,000 to fund it at the high school level. We met with Lisa Dempsey, the administrator at the Warwick Early Learning Center, and she gave us some recommendations for what would be needed in order to sort of improve the score of the center for the Bright Stars program, which is something that RIDE is starting up next year. So we're allocating about $31,000 more to WELC. And then the last item is just really something that we discussed in our initial budget hearing, sort of a reminder on the administrative side, just to make that update to add $125,000 to capital improvements for the kilns at the middle school level, and then the offsets to accommodate that expense will come from the legal budget and the safety budget.
Looking for a motion to adopt the revised FY25 budget.
So moved.
Made by Mr. Testa.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Hazelwood. Any discussion? I'll just make one comment. When the additional funding is realized from the governor's budget, when that passes through the House and the Senate,
yep.
I'd really like to see those additional funds used for three things. And I know we're not going to discuss them at length right now, and it has nothing to do with the motion.
The first is I want us to continue to invest in security. I know that there was a willingness by that individual who oversees that function to decrease that amount. However, and I think you know this very well, we're probably going to be looking at very difficult budget seasons in the next 2 and 3 years. So right now, we should be investing in that, getting ahead of it, versus down the road going, the city net funded us, and we couldn't invest into it. Let's make sure we're investing in it now. So I'd like to get that number back up. We should be making safety and security a priority. Second thing is I'd like us to add a person to our workforce that finally goes over to Windman and addresses the safety and culture or climate over there. I know that last summer we were pretty much celebrating that Windman would be getting an SRO, and I was fired up, but due to staffing issues with the police department, it was understandable that we lost them. I was sensitive to that and how it kind of threw us a curveball last minute. But now we've had a year to plan, so for me it's SRO or someone over there that can do security and address student discourse. And then last but not least, we got to continue to invest into the exterior property at Warwick Vets. That's it's going to take a beating here for the next 3 to 4 years with outdoor athletics. So in July at that meeting, those will be again 3 expectations for me: is the security, the upgrades at Vets outdoors, and someone to focus on safety and security at Windman. Any other comments from members of the committee? Seeing none. Ms. Backus.
One of the other areas I think that it needs to be invested in is elementary education. They really get the short end of the stick sometimes. I don't want to see anything taken from them. But sounds good.
Great. Any other comments from members of the committee? Seeing none. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Next item, discussion action, WTU arbitration decision LRC number 671-23, as presented in executive session.
I make a motion to appeal arbitration decision LRC number 671-23.
Second. Any discussion? No discussion, right? We just spoke. No discussion. All those in favor? Aye.
Nay.
Nay.
Roll call vote. Ms. Backus.
Nay.
Ms. Hazelwood.
Nay.
Ms. Kirby Chapman.
Yes.
Mr. Testa.
Aye.
I vote aye. Motion passes 3-2. Next item, discussion action, change order, Columbus Door, PO 240-01108. Mr. Oliver.
Good evening. I'm requesting your approval on this change order for Columbus Door, a total of $491. There was a oversight on parts and pieces that were not included in the original part of the quote. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Testa, seconded by Ms. Backus. Any comments from members of the committee? Seeing none. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Item 12, discussion action, bid award, green building renovations, bid 24-0017, Mr. Gothberg.
Good evening again. As you know, this project is out of operating budget, so this does not go in front of the building committee. It comes to the school committee. So on May 16th, the upgrades for the green building renovation to bring it up to code so that we can bring the RIAA fully into that building came in. In your packet, you have the bid tabulation. All board construction was low at $564,000. Second place was ADS construction at $795,000. J.G. Edwards was third at $803,500, and Marin Construction was fourth at $860,850. As you can see, there was quite a disparity in the bids. We've done a thorough scope review. So I seek your approval to go with the low bidder, Walberg Construction.
Move approval?
Motion made by Ms. Backus,
Second.
seconded by Ms. Hazelwood. Any questions or comments from members of the committee? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Item 13, discussion action contract award. Secoccio and Associates, Mr. Gothberg.
To get this project done with the short timeline we had, Secoccio, our district architect, had agreed to go ahead and design based on the low bid as opposed to a budget, which was in the district's favor, as you can tell by the disparity in the bids. So their design based on their contractual 8% is $45,120 plus reimbursables. I seek your approval for the work.
Move approval.
Motion made by Ms. Backus.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Hazelwood. Any comments or questions from members of the committee? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
No, Mr. Gothberg, thank you. Item 14, discussion action contract award, Skills USA, number 19319 and 19320. I imagine Mr. McCaffrey, on behalf of Mr. Kane, might be getting his haircut for tomorrow's graduation.
Yeah. Ask for your approval to support the students and teachers going to the National Skills USA competition. It's funded by the Perkins grant, and then a legislative grant that the school had received.
Move approval.
Motion made by Mr. Testa, seconded by Ms. Backus. Any questions or comments from members of the committee? Best of luck to all those going to the competition. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Item number 15, discussion action, contract award, the Sandra Feinstein GAM Theater, number 19323. Mr. Heatherton.
Good evening. The grant department is seeking approval for the GAM Theater Services for the after-school program at Norwood Elementary. This is being funded by the CBO Extended Learning Grant.
Move approval.
Motion made by Mr. Testa. I'll second. Any comments or questions from members of the committee? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Yep.
Go. Ms. Bax.
Sorry. With that contract, are there any expectations or
With
an
regards
end
to how the
result?
grant was written, yes, yeah, they're a partner with Norwood and the CBO.
Right, but do we have any expectations with the GAM, what they'll do and how they'll do it? And
There usually is a performance that they usually, so it's sort of theater, so they do a performance at the end of the program.
okay, thank you. And is that at school or is that at the GAM?
GAM Theater, actually.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any
Mr.
other
Heath-
comments? Ms. Hazelwood?
The program has already ran, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so, okay, that's what I was wondering. So we had expectations and, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Next item, discussion action contract award, Cartwheel Mental Health Partnership, number 19520. Ms. Murray.
Good evening. I'm here before you to ask for your approval for Cartwheel, the mental health partnership vendor that provides schools and their families rapid access to mental health services. So we know firsthand our children and their families wait months to access mental health services. The impact of this results in students struggling in class or avoiding school altogether. Using a telehealth option, Cartwheel can provide one-to-one therapy, skill groups, one-to-one parent guidance, and medication management if needed within 7 to 10 business days. This service is available to all regardless of insurance, and it is also grant funded. I'm requesting your approval.
Move approval.
Motion made by Ms. Backus.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Testa and Ms. Hazelwood. Any comments or questions?
Mr. Chair, I
Mr.
do.
Testa.
Ms. Murray, where is the service delivered? Is it delivered at their home? Or in the school?
So it's telehealth, and so once the referral is made, they set up a clinician for the family, and then it's done virtually. And so at home or at school, but our preference right now, we're looking for this to be mostly outside of the school day when convenient. But that is how it's delivered, and just what we've heard about telehealth, because of the demand that there is for students to get seen by anyone when given the choice of no one or a telehealth, it's been very successful.
So did we do anything like this before?
To my knowledge, we have not.
Okay. I thought it was, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Backus?
This is such a needed service, and there are just not enough clinicians and trained people in the state to care for and help students and parents and, you know, throughout the state. So this is, I'm excited about it. I hope that we've had good results with telehealth, and I'm really happy that we're getting this for our students and everybody, because I think it will make a difference. Because waiting, the best time to get in is when there is trouble, when there is an emergency. And if things die down and they're seen 3 months later, everybody forgets how bad it was until the next emergency. So, thank you for finding this and putting it in place.
All set?
Yeah. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hazelwood.
I'm just saying for the public's, so that for their knowledge, Cartwheel is in Massachusetts. They must hold a license that can cover services in Rhode Island as well.
Correct, yes.
Okay, I just want to make that known.
Yep. They are working with a few districts, or at least one that we know of right now, and they were in talks with another one in Rhode Island.
Okay,
And they are
great.
also partnered with the Bradley Reach program right now.
That's
So
wonderful.
they provide that same
Telehealth
service.
is really it's personal enough. It's easy for especially children to make a connection that way. They're so used to the technology piece that sometimes they're better that way than they are in person.
Right.
So this is a wonderful thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Just one question. So it's great that you were able to secure the grant funding for this. Is this a one-year program, so we'll have to renew it again next year and apply for the grant again? Or is this just grant funded for FY25 and it's a 3-year contract and we would have to find the funding in years 2 and 3?
So this is a one-year contract, but we were very thoughtful about the way that we wanted to fund this. We're starting small, and we wanted to think about sustainability. So part of this is being funded through the grants that I have for mental health specifically, and then another piece of that will come out of, I believe, federal.
Okay. And do we get any price breaks after we go over that number? Because that's 50 students district-wide, correct?
Right.
So out of the 8,000, if let's say our number next year is 8,000.
Yeah, from my understanding, they will be, we're in constant contact and communication along the way, but if they feel as though we're going to we're going to have too few seats, we can then up our contract. I don't know that there's any discount for that, but yeah, we can
great.
make
And
that change in December.
And I imagine that the grant was for the $38,000 amount?
Correct.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any other comments or questions from members of the committee? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Item 17, discussion action, contract award, Panorama number 19517. Ms. Murray?
Good evening again. So I'm seeking your approval for a renewal for the Panorama Student Success Platform. We're going into our 3rd year, and as you know, the Student Success Platform allows administrators and teachers to view relevant data in one place for comprehensive decision-making for a multi-tiered approach, MTSS. And so this is also grant-funded.
Move approval.
Motion made by Ms. Backus.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Testa. Any comments or questions from members of the committee? I just love when you guys bring grant-funded stuff. That's just, it's the best. This 1 year, 2 year contract?
This is 1 year, yep,
Yeah.
but we're in our third year. We'll be going into our third year.
Excellent. Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Item 18, discussion action, contract award, Rhode Island Interlocal Risk Management, number 19541. Mr. Bowl.
Good evening. I'm seeking your approval for our policy renewal with the Rhode Island Interlocal Trust. This is for our property and liability insurance, our error and omissions insurance, and fleet and vehicles insurance. This is an annual renewal, and it's a budgeted expense.
Move approval.
Second.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Testa, seconded by myself and Ms. Backus. Any questions or comments?
Mr. Chair. Mr. Bowl, what was this figure last year?
I thought you might ask that question, and it is the one number I did not prepare for tonight.
Okay. All right,
so
well,
I
I'm
will-
curious to know, obviously, what the difference is, and within the three categories, property, liability, error and omissions, fleet and vehicles.
Yep. It is higher this year, as you can imagine, based on the number of claims we've filed. But I do think, so our property and liability insurance did go up, but our fleet and vehicle and errors and omissions insurances did go down. So I think net, we're not that much higher year over year. But I'll get you those numbers.
Yeah, my concern is with the age of the buildings.
Yep.
And the issues we have, especially at the two high schools, right?
Yep.
In this interlude until we can get new ones built. That the trust is going to give us the hairy eyeball. We keep trying to put Band-Aids on stuff. So.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Understood.
Might have the number for Mr. Testa. It's Pilgrim math, so just bear with me. No, there's only one item listed on that second sheet. I apologize. Yeah. All right. Any other questions or comments from members of the committee? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Item 19, discussion action, contract award, Tyler Technologies 19562. Mr. Bowl.
I'm seeking your approval for the new ERP system, which we discussed earlier tonight. Again, I think that this system is going to drastically improve the operations within the school district. This expense will be funded using prior year surplus that's currently held in a reserve account with Merrill Lynch.
Move approval.
Motion made by Ms. Backus.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Testa. Any questions or comments from members of the committee? Mr. Testa.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Bowl, when you did the presentation on this, you and I had a conversation, and your office uses a lot of Excel spreadsheets.
Yep.
Right, to calculate this.
Yep.
So this is an enterprise with a $190 million budget when using Excel spreadsheets.
Yep.
Right, and a lot of manual entry and manual correction.
Correct.
Which invites mistakes. So I fully support this. I think we need to get into the 21st century, not only with our schools and our education, but with the back of the house functions. So we're going to have more and more bond payments coming with the new high schools, and there's a lot of coordination between the school department and the city on those. And one question I have, in Mr. Gothberg's office, Ms. French does a lot of that bond transaction stuff, so
Yep.
she would be trained on this too, right? She'd have to be a part of that, right?
So currently our assistant controller, Mike, who we just hired 2-3 months ago, actually probably even longer ago than that now, but he works specifically on grants and bonds. Okay. So he takes the information that Jenny puts out through the building committee, and he actually enters that into our general ledger. So that information is in our current accounting system. But again, it's a lot of like manual journal entries and like line by line entries.
Yeah, all right. So as long as it makes the flow of information from Mr. Gothberg's office to the finance office smoother, that's fine. And I think ultimately, this allows, your staff to do more higher order stuff.
Oh, 100%, 100%.
Right.
Our controller, who's been with us for the better part of a year, spends just way too much time on menial work and trying to figure out like why a reconciliation isn't working in the system, as opposed to reviewing financial statements or doing more higher order work. She's constantly trying to figure out why the system's not doing what it's supposed to be doing.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Backus.
This is going to be a game changer. I'm really looking forward to the rollout and to seeing everything we can do with it, because I know it's just going to make this district 21st century.
Yep.
In so many ways. And we're going to be able to do so much with it. And so, as before, I thank you for your work on this and look forward to its installation and use.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions? Nothing from me. Nice
Cool.
job with it.
Yeah, yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Sweet. Item number 20, discussion action, contract award, Aramark 19558. Mr. Bowl.
So this is this is for the contract renewal for our food services management company, Aramark. They are contracted for 2 more renewals after this upcoming school year, just as a footnote. And this is a budgeted expense for fiscal year 25.
Move approval.
Oh, second.
Motion made by Ms. Backus, seconded by Mr. Testa. Any questions or comments from members of the committee?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Testa.
Mr. Bowe, I have one. If I read these documents correctly, is their net profit $65,000 on a $3.5 million program?
That sounds accurate.
So it's a 1.9% net profit. Stunningly low. It's amazing, and well, it is what it is, I suppose, and that's probably the norm for school lunch programs. But that's tough to make money in that business. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from members of the committee? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Item 21, discussion action, contract award, EMS Link 19560. Mr. Bowl.
Seeking your approval for renewal of our POS student management software for the food services department. It was previously called Titan, now it's called Link. This is our point of service software for food services, where parents add funds, etc. Seeking your approval. It is a budgeted expense.
Move approval.
Motion made by Ms. Backus. I'll second it. Any comments or questions from members of the committee? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Item number 22, I'm making a motion to table. Is there a second?
Second.
I'll second that because I have nothing.
Seconded by Mr. Testa and Ms. Backus. Any questions or comments from members of the committee? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there a specific reason why you want to table?
Yes. We do not have the contract yet before us, though I'm confident in probably what the financial figures are in terms of what we have budgeted, especially since we've increased that a little bit more. What's more important to me is that I didn't want to make a mistake of the past of this committee, which was entering into an agreement with the vendor whereby the contract would not have language that would protect the district for failure to provide services. So I just want to make sure that there's some sort of language within that contract before I put my name behind it, just so that way I'm not being hypocritical of something that once bothered me. So,
Mr. Chair, if I may?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Beck, I would object to it just because we don't have the data before us, but I would disagree. I don't think that I would disagree with your assessment. I don't think the contract had language that did that didn't state that, because that's exactly what we did. It's exactly what we did during COVID. We didn't pay them. We didn't pay them for services rendered. So, but again, when I saw it on the agenda, I thought maybe it would be added in later. If I don't have the document to read, I can't vote. I can't discuss it. So, on that alone was enough reason for me. So, I just want to see what it says and then be able to talk to you guys with what the changes are, if any. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from members of the committee? Ms. Hazelwood.
When Ms. Kirby-Chapman and I went in to go over the budget with Mr. Bull and Mr. McCaffrey and Dr. Taylor, just to say they are doing their due diligence. When they come back with that contract, it's going to have language that we're going to want to back. So I just wanted to make that clear to the public. They're doing the right thing by the students and the employees on the buses. So thank you.
The only other question I have, from an ESY perspective, do you think we're going to have something before us where we would have a special committee meeting prior to ESY kicking off, or are you guys in talks with First Student right now to kind of have some stopgap coverage there?
Yeah, I feel confident we'll have transportation for ESY.
Great, thank you. Any other questions or comments from members of the committee?
No, thank you.
Awesome. All right, all those in favor for tabling this item?
Aye.
Aye. It's been tabled. Item 23, discussion action, contract award, Imagine Learning 19362. Mr. McCaffrey.
I'm requesting your approval for Imagine Learning Ingenuity renewal. This supports our 2 site licenses for credit recovery over the summer and in the spring for our students, as well as the OTL program that was piloted this year at Pilgrim High School by the Special Services Department. That alone saved us over $100,000. So I would ask that you support this, and hats off to the Special Services Department for utilizing this tool to support the students with our teachers at a savings. Thank you.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Backus, seconded by Mr. Testa. Any questions or comments from members of the committee?
I have a comment.
Ms. Hazel.
The program that we began, the pilot program, the OTL, that is a great program. I hope we are able to expand it even further, because it will benefit a lot of those students, some of the ones with social emotional issues as well that are at home, as well as others.
Sure, and we do have site licenses at both high schools, so if and when the Special Services Department wants to expand, they can expand.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments from members of the committee? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 24, discussion action, contract award, College Board, number 19491, Mr. McCaffrey.
Request your approval for AP examinations for both Tollgate and Pilgrim High School. The cost is, the invoice is attached.
Move approval.
Second.
Made by Mr. Testa, seconded by Ms. Backus. Any questions or comments from members of the committee? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Item 25, discussion action, contract award, RI Link 19556, Mr. McCaffrey.
I request your approval for the renewal of our RI Link system that supports our students and library opportunities within our schools.
Move approval.
I'll second. Motion made by Ms. Backus, seconded by me. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 26, discussion action, contract award, Amazon, number 19524, Ms. Cousineau.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. This first purchase is for some new bookcases for our elementary schools. We like to stick with the 2-shelf model, for they're nice and short for our friends, so they're not a fall risk for our students. And we have some decaying wooden bookcases that we'd like to replace, and lots of new curriculum materials. So I'm looking for your approval on this.
Move approval.
Second.
Made by Ms. Backus, seconded by Mr. Testa. Any questions or comments from members of the committee? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Item 27, discussion action, contract award, cyber communications, 19515, Ms. Cousineau.
Thank you. Again, this is a matter of safety and security. I've been in constant communication with our safety coordinator, Mr. Magiacomo, and we are looking to purchase a total of 26 new two-way portable Motorola walkie-talkie radios. We will allocate them appropriately throughout the elementary schools in the fall, but this is definitely a need for safety.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Backus, seconded by Ms. Hazelwood and Mr. Testa. Any questions or comments from members of the committee? I have just one for you, Ms. Cousineau.
Sure.
On the bottom of the memo we received, it said this is a funded expense, budgeted expense within FY24?
It has been a budget, yes, I'm sorry I left that out. A budget, both of them so far are budget expenses, yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from members of the committee? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Item 28, discussion action, contract award, Walleye Computer, number 19523, Ms. Cousineau.
This is a budget expense. I'll start with that. It is also in the matter of safety and security. My secretary, Ms. Kim, deserves all the credit for this. She and Joe Knapp looked at all the systems in our elementary schools, and wherever there was some lagging systems, these will be state-of-the-art video support systems for doorbells. So we're looking for your approval.
Move approval.
Motion made by Ms. Backus, seconded by Ms. Hazelwood. Any questions or comments from members of the committee?
Mr. Chair, I do.
Mr. Testa.
Ms. Cousineau, were these 6 schools identified as those that needed this?
They
Are
were.
there more?
What we did was we looked at the current existing systems. I'll just use Gorton as an example with the elementary schools that are coming over and hanging out with us for a couple of years. Gina, the secretary, can't really see the front door, whereas some of our other schools, if you go to Hoxie, Mrs. Porter is right across from the front door. So we tried to target the schools that the secretary is a little more removed from the front door, so they had sort of a better system. You can actually hold your license right up to it, and she can actually see if you're in Aspen and you can pick up your child, etc.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from members of the committee? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no one opposed, I'm looking at us taking item number 29, discussion action, contract award, technology renewals, as presented by Dr. Taylor. What I'll do is I will read off all of the bid numbers under each company name, and we take them all as a packet. Certainly, if you have one particular question on a particular proposal, we can remove that. But is there any objection to doing that? Seeing none. At this time, I'm making a motion that we move for approval. Technology renewals, CDW Government LLC, 19417, 19416, 19403, 19404, 19406, Walleye Computer Associates, 19378, 19400, 19398, 19407. Under Other, Cox Business Services VoIP Phone System 19373, DeMarchian Inc. 19380, FileWave USA Inc. 19381, Infinity Communications and Consulting, E-Rate Consultants 19379, Ocean Internet Service 19486, Technical Education Solutions SolidWorks 19432, X2 Follett and Aspen Student Information System 19420, Xerox Copier Lease 19436, CBS Xerox Copier Contract number 19377.
Move approval.
Second.
Made by Ms. Backus, seconded by Mr. Testa. Any comments or questions on any of those proposals listed within that first package?
Mr. Chair, one comment. Just for everyone's edification, it's all technology. These are all renewals, but it's $913,000. And I don't say that because I'm saying, oh my God, this is what education costs now. This is what you need in your schools. You need Go Guardian. You need to be able to have some security over the students while they're on the Chromebooks. So all of this stuff this isn't like elective stuff. This is this is where we are today, so that's all.
Any other comments or questions from members of the committee? I just have one. It took 2 hours and 8 minutes for Mr. Testa to drop edification. I've been waiting for it all night. It almost came out last hour, but it didn't. Okay. Seeing none other, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. I would make the same proposal to my colleagues on item number 30, discussion action, contract awards, technology, new purchases. Any objections to doing the same thing for item 30?
No.
Seeing none. Walleye Computer Associates, teacher staff Chromebooks, 19383. Walleye Computer Associates, staff laptop replacements, 19505. Walleye Computer Associates, Promethean boards, number 19525 and 19527. Walleye Computer Associates, Thrive Managed Cybersecurity, 19408. Walleye Computer Associates, Access Point Replacement, E-rate funded, number 19557. Walleye Computer Associates, FY24 laptop replacements for department chairs, number 19500. Under Other, Incident IQ LLC, Ticketing and Workflow System, 19431. Amazon EdTech Copier Center Supplies, 19511. WB Mason EdTech Copier Center Supplies, 19512. Apple Inc. Middle School Lab Replacements, 19499.
Move approval.
Made by Mr. Testa, seconded by Ms. Backus. Any comments or questions? Here we go.
I have several, not that I'm looking to not approve any of these, just some questions for Dr. Taylor. So, Dr. Taylor, on replacement of Prometheans, it says you aim to replace the oldest boards, I get it, and the ones that have had the most hours of usage. So what's the average year, how old is the average Promethean board, and do we actually have an ability to track the hours that it's used?
Yes, so both excellent questions. But first off, if I may, just, and I appreciate the chair and the committee taking all these as a large group, but I would be remiss not to shout out my team. This is a tremendous amount of work. Mr. Napolillo, Mrs. Sauer, and their quote, obtaining all the quotes. My clerk, Mrs. Marley, does an excellent job putting this all together. Miss Polly and Ms. Tedeschi for putting the folders together. So I wanted to make sure I acknowledge the team. But to answer your question, Mr. Testa, the Promethean boards, and you'll notice usually each year when we come before you, we're aiming at replacing secondary Promethean boards. We've been doing 80 at a clip each year. Reason for that is the initial Promethean boards were installed in the 2016-2017 school year, so they've been workhorses for about 8 years. And my mission, since I began this role a number of years ago, is to always make sure we never come before you with a request of a large amount of Promethean boards. We've been successful with that in secondary. We're almost done with the complete replacement cycle we've been doing for 4 years. So these additional boards will round off that. How long do the boards last for? Well, those are the oldest boards. We're looking to round off the replacement of those, and it just depends on the hours of usage, and we can look into that through the data on the back end. This year, before you, you'll see the beginning of scratching the surface of elementary Promethean board replacements. Why is that? Because even though we blinked and it seemed like only yesterday, those Promethean boards were funded through the initial COVID money, the initial CRT, grant money that we had 4 years ago. So we're starting to plan for that. Not a huge replacement. We have about 350 boards at elementary school, but just to begin making sure we're replacing those boards. And then, of course, the boards we take down, if we can use them someplace, even temporarily, as they're becoming end of life, we do that. Nothing goes to waste. We make sure we use them up.
Okay, thank you. And then I had a question. Incident IQ, that's the newest, that's a new thing for us in this packet that you put before us. So you did write on there that this will replace 3 disjointed systems currently in use: SolarWinds, support ticketing system, School Dudes, work order system, and Chrome Hero technology. So I did ask you, what are we paying for those? And we're paying $47,000 roughly a year for those. Mm-hmm. So this, I think, I support this because it kind of aligns with what Mr. Bowles is doing for the business office. This allows it to be more efficient and coordinated or connected, for lack of a better word. So, and I think there was a couple of other things that HR can use in this that there's like an added benefit.
Correct, yeah. So under the Incident IQ, it replaces those 3 systems, but adds 2 really neat features. One is a human resources onboarding program, all within the same platform. What that is new employee gets hired, and everything's contained into that one system. And additionally, the event planning, so that all your building usage forms, moving away from the triplicate copies and hand forms filled out onto an online rental system, all contained into one-stop shop. Somebody logs in and they can do all those features.
Thank you. It's like mimeograph machines, dittos,
Yep.
right? My last thing is the Amazon and W. Mason, the cover sheets say the same thing. So it's general supplies for the Ed Tech Center. So they both reference paper. So do we shop these two? Or are there certain items we get from WB typically and certain items we get from Amazon, or do we just...
Traditionally, that's correct. Yeah, WB has a better pricing on some paper that we use. Amazon likewise. We always, score the best deal from either one of those vendors. Both are MPA vendors, so we ensure that we're getting the best pricing available. And both of those are just the open POs, so as the copy center gets rolling, we have the funds to. We don't buy it all in bulk in the beginning of the year. Right. We just charge against it as the year goes on.
Okay. Thank you.
That's it.
Any other questions or comments from members of the committee? I have just one on Promethean boards. Are we still replacing Promethean boards at the new high school?
That's also why we've tapered down the replacements. There's certain boards in secondary we do need to replace, maybe a few at each high school, predominantly at the middle school. But our plan for all kind of technology is that's all built into the new high school costs. So we're not putting any access point switches, Promethean boards, stuff like that into the high schools because it's going to be replaced.
But if there's a classroom or classrooms with existing Promethean boards that are damaged or not functioning, we'd get a new one in there?
That's exactly why we've got these.
Sweet. Let's connect on that for the man.
Perfect. Thank you.
And lastly, the other question I had for you is regarding like staff laptop replacements or computers in general for staff. Question during public comment at the beginning of the meeting regarding computers not functioning, allowing the curriculum to be taught as designed. Are any of these costs here going to support or address that concern?
So the only, and we want to dig a little bit deeper into that because we have, as the comment mentioned, the high school issues seem to have been rectified. From my understanding, that's an approval that comes to you later in the year for a cloud-based system called a Porto. You've probably seen that each year. The middle schools will be addressed in part by these Apple labs. There's 2 labs in each middle school, and these Apple labs look to replace the graphic design lab in the middle school. So I believe if that's some of the tools that are being cited, then that should rectify that.
Great. And the IT department, do you have a help desk, like a ticket line where you're able to track when people submit something and to show like if somebody's reported something in the past, the IT, the tech integration specialist, that it's been addressed and closed out?
Yeah, very much so, and that's currently under the SolarWinds platform. That will be shifted to that Incident IQ platform that we just mentioned, but we track exactly that number of tickets down to days and people and technician and you name it.
Perfect. And would you be able to provide to me, not this evening obviously, but maybe when you get a chance before week's end or early next week, if any tickets have been entered relative to the computers, the desktop computers not functioning?
Yeah,
for
sure.
the teachers?
Absolutely. Easy.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. And last but not least, Dr. Schultz for curriculum approval. If there is no objection from members of this committee, looking to take them all as one packet as well. I would read them off as suggested by Ms. Backus and Mr. Testa. Any objection? Seeing none, okay. I'd be looking for a motion to approve the following curriculum: 6th grade social studies, 7th grade social studies, adolescent and children's literature, algebra 3, creative writing 1, creative writing 2, sports, literature, and film.
So moved.
Motion made
Second.
by Mr. Testa, seconded by Ms. Backus. Any comments or questions? Ms. Backus.
These are predominantly computer or Chromebook. Thank you.
Great. Any other comments or questions from members of the committee? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
At this time, we'll go into public comment. Individual comments will be respectfully limited to 3 minutes per person, with public comment not to exceed 45 minutes. Though the content of comments will not be restricted, it is the hope of this committee that citizens, committee members, and the administration alike will be respectful of each other's right to speak, tolerant of different points of view, and mindful of everyone's time. This public comment period is for general comments or concerns. Speakers are asked to state their name for the record.
Good evening, everyone. Pauline Pinto, Warwick teacher, Warwick property owner, proud graduate of Warwick schools, attending K through 12. As I mentioned, I am a teacher. I'm a science teacher, but if you'll bear with me, I'm going to give you a brief history lesson. On September 21st, 2021, our principal at the time, Mr. Coffey, sent out a newsletter. In that newsletter, he cited some housekeeping items. Among those were thermostat issues as related to the HVAC. He stated that Tony, our building mechanic, was working with our district HVAC person to address some of the concerns we have been having within our system, particularly in a few rooms and areas of the building. As for setting and adjusting classroom thermostats, he has been confirming what many of you have come to know, that such adjustments tend not to hold out for long. He said that the system is constantly self-correcting, which apparently means that each time a person adjusts a classroom thermostat, the system checks in with one or more nearby rooms and reverts back within a matter of seconds to the preset setting for that area. Fast forward 2 years later to October 2023, where I came here to the microphone to publicly address this ongoing issue. I began with, after years of complaints from myself and others in this building, documented both in email through Faculty Advisory Committee notes, my goal is action. Action can only occur with accountability that results from total transparency and documented public record of concerns for the quality of air in this building. The month prior, on September 15th, 2023, I emailed each of you giving you, again, a brief history of my concerns and stated that every single day this year has been beyond uncomfortable with obviously high humidity. So much so that students are complaining that the floor in my classroom is wet. Watching mold grow on surfaces, shelvings, and clocks, and I included photos of that, in my classroom prompted me to bring in a hygrometer. At 11 a.m. on that day, the temperature in my room measured, the humidity in my room measured 74%. OSHA recommends workplace humidity levels to be maintained between 20 and 60%. Beyond 60%, bacteria and viruses thrive, and these contaminants stay airborne longer. Above 75%, microorganisms such as mold and fungi flourish and may not be visible as they grow in ceiling tiles and in the air conditioning ductwork, among other places. At the conclusion of that day, I'm going to implore you to let me continue. We don't have a line of people here, and this is important information for taxpayers.
Give me 1 second, Ms. Pinto, I paused your time. I would need someone on the committee to make a motion to go get some.
Motion to add 3 minutes.
Second.
Thank you. Additional 3 minutes.
At the conclusion of that day, I received a follow-up email from Mr. Goss informing that the AC had been repaired. My concerns were, had it truly been repaired, or was the AC just adjusted to make the temperatures more comfortable? I'm going to eliminate some of this. Since that October school committee meeting, members of this admin team and school committee have visited vets for the purposes of gaining knowledge about the floors in the system. The school committee also generously appropriated over $200,000 to address the disastrous HVAC system. For that, I'd like to thank you. I sincerely wish, and you likely will too, that this is the part where I stop. But I cannot, because the system is no better than it was in October. In fact, 41 work orders were submitted in the month of May related to the HVAC system. I submitted a work order just last week where I quoted one of my grade 6 students who stated, "It's humid, sticky, and smells weird in here." On Wednesday of last week, the hygrometer in my room measured the humidity at 74%, just as it was back in October. This is one of many issues While I contended with humidity, another teacher wore fleece and a scarf last week to contend with the cold temperatures in a room. Others referred to their classrooms as the Arctic tundra, and more egregious is that others had to vacate their rooms with their students, their learning spaces, because the children were so cold their teeth were chattering. These are our medically fragile children. I have sent countless emails, created multiple spreadsheets, and asked teachers to submit work orders, begged them to remain patient and stay the course, and they have, but understandably their patience has grown thin. I'm growing concerned about the general health and wellness of people in this building and a clear inability to fix the system. Thankfully, students can move about during the day, teachers cannot. While Mr. Oliver did not create this issue, it has been handed to him. He has asked for patience as they work through the issues, stating, "I'm concerned that this is going to be an ongoing issue. My department is doing everything they can to resolve these issues in a timely manner." And I don't doubt that. My concern is that this has been an ongoing issue. Kevin stated at the October school committee meeting that the closeout paperwork for the warranty on the multi-million-dollar system was never completed. Ms. Backus asked then who was in charge. Mr. Testa replied, "We're not naming names here." I'm not here to ruin anyone's name. It's not my intent. None of this feels good. But I have serious concerns. Who was responsible? How did this incredibly costly mistake go unnoticed? What recourse do we now have? I'm asking this because I believe the taxpayers are owed answers. The people in this building are owed answers. We've requested updates and we're told to submit them to Mr. Oliver, who would then give an update to Mr. Goss, who would communicate that information to us at our monthly meetings. That happened for exactly 1 month. Although it was requested, we did not receive an update for the 41 work orders submitted in May. Following the October school committee meeting, a reporter from the Beacon reached out to me. Believing that the issue would be fixed by the district, I didn't reply. If the Beacon reaches out to me now, I'll discuss my concerns in an effort to resolve the issue. Based on everything I've shared this evening, I do not believe the system can be fixed. If it could have been, it would have been by now. There would have been clear communication about issues. Instead, we received silence. Conditions in this building are unbearable, and at times, a health concern. What are we going to do about it? In closing, the gentleman tonight, Spiegel, I believe was his name, speaking about how current buildings are not designed for creative spaces. This raised another real concern for me about the space here at Vets. I'm hearing that there are plans to move special education teachers in this building with their students to a space that allows them from a space that allows them to meet their students' needs to a windowless room in a building that has serious HVAC concerns. We've heard it before, and we all agree that Tollgate's windowless rooms are poor design. But here we are again, planning to move our special education students to a windowless room, but this time we're planning to do it in a building with serious HVAC concerns. Please do better. I implore you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Darlene Netco. First, I want to thank Ms. Bacchus and Ms. Hazelwood for voting not to appeal an arbitration award that the union won. Over the many years we've had these arbitrations, sometimes the union wins, sometimes the school committee wins, and we've had very, very few appeals in decades worth of arbitration. So why this one has to be appealed, I don't know, but you know, it will all work out in court, I guess, unfortunately. You talk about having a $295,000 deficit with the lunch fee. I don't know why you'd be wasting money going to court. But I had intended, and so most of my comments are on something else. We discussed the phys ed committee. We need the 100 minutes in elementary school. Ideally, we would have the full year in high school. I just want to remind everyone that we used to have that and we lost it. We used to have marine environmental, a program that right now would come in handy as a pathway. We lost it. Once we lose something, it's very hard to get back. It's very hard to put the full year of phys ed back now that we've lost it. We're on the verge of losing some other programs. By laying off the one and only business teacher here at Vets, we no longer have a business program. A social studies teacher retired at Windman That position was not filled. Now there are no current events at Windman. These, and I mentioned this last time, but I want to bring it up again. The exploratories, as first conceived, was the wild, wild west. Ton of exploratories, let's let the kids pick. Who knows what's going where with scheduling. Over the last few years, the exploratories had winnowed down to a manageable number that kids took here at the middle schools. There's no reason why middle school students are choosing which exploratories to take and which ones they aren't. When I was a child here, way back when, we had a quarter of each of these tech ed and art programs. And plus back then we had family and consumer science too. Something else that we lost that we won't get back. I might point out that other districts still have these kind of family and consumer science classes. They're part of pathways that we're losing students to. Middle school students should be able to get a regular schedule for grades 6, 7, and 8, and each get the exploratories. The purpose of an exploratory is to explore. Students at this age need to be exposed to different subjects so they find out where their interests might lie. To cut our business program in this building and current events in the other building is wrong. And just like marine environmental, family consumer science, full year of phys ed, once things are gone, they don't come back. And these are things that don't need to be cut right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Necco. Are there any other members of the public looking to comment? Any other members of the public looking to comment? Any other members of the public looking to comment? All right, seeing none, the Health and Wellness Subcommittee meeting will be June 18th, 2024 at 3 p.m. The Fiscal Subcommittee meeting will be July 2nd, 2024 at 3 p.m. The monthly school committee meeting will be July 9th, 2024 at 7 p.m. The next Warwick School Building Committee meeting will be July 10th, 2024 at 7:30 a.m. And the next Policy Subcommittee meeting is scheduled for August with a date to be determined. Given this is the last regularly scheduled school committee meeting of the 23 to 24 school year, I want to just congratulate all of our kindergartners moving on to first grade, our fifth graders moving up to the middle school level, our eighth graders that are moving on to high school, and I want to wish all of our high school students graduating tomorrow all the best in their future endeavors. So congratulations to all of those children. With that, I'll be looking for a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chair, before we go,
Yeah.
I would just like to thank Dr. Cecil. Came here how many years ago?
Yes.
How many years ago did you come? 2005, right? Came here. This is your last meeting. Enjoy your retirement. Wish you well and whatever it is you do. So.
You will be missed.
Yes, you will.
Congratulations, Dr. Cecil. Any other comments from members of the committee?
Nope.
Ms. Backus.
Just one, for health and wellness, if anyone is interested, members of the public, parents, please contact me at karen.bacchus, B-A-C-H-U-S, at warwickschools.org. If you're interested, I can fill you in more about what we do when you call. Thank you. Or email. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion made by Ms. Backus.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Testa. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. We're adjourned.